Greetings and welcome to a new narration done by Dr. Torment. The following story may or may not prove rather sensitive to some listeners. Discretion is advised, and consider this your one and only warning. Now, with that out of the way, let us proceed. I was reading online, specifically on Reddit, about how to regain my wife's respect, and as I was reading, a certain subreddit told me I should cry in front of her with a dead rabbit in my arms. Unfortunately, I feel that she lost respect with me even more so. I was sure that I did everything correctly, so I went back to that post, and it had more instructions on what to do should it fail. If crying in front of my wife with a dead rabbit wouldn't work, then I would have to cry in front of her with her own dead parents in my arms. Naturally, I went and killed her parents, and I started crying in front of her. She just found me even more pathetic and embarrassing. I was so confused, and I had no idea what I was doing wrong. I murdered her parents. I started crying in front of her, but she still had no respect for me. This was all very frustrating, and I went back to that Reddit post, and it had even more instructions. If crying in front of her dead parents wouldn't work, then you must murder some of her friends and cry in front of her with them. So, of course, I murdered one of her friends and I cried in front of her again. And then another, until I had a few of her dead friends in my arms. I could see her respect for me diminish much further than before. How low can I go in front of her? I'm trying to gain her respect of me, but it is so hard. She started to find me repetitive and boring. I looked into the mirror and shouted at myself to stop being boring. And then I went back to that post, and there were more instructions. If murdering one of her friends and crying in front of her wouldn't work, then I should just go ahead and murder my children and then cry in front of her. So I murdered my children and again cried in front of her. She called me pathetic and I was humiliated. I then walked away and I was angry at that subreddit post until I read the title. The subreddit was called Bad Advice. It's a subreddit that purposely gives, let's say very, very bad advice on how to maintain a marriage. And oops, I thought to myself, I simply didn't realize which subreddit I was on. And so we've come to the end of our session. I would like to take a moment here to thank all you listeners who have joined us in this session. I would also like to go ahead and invite everyone attending to go ahead and check the link found in the description below. It is the source of this particular story and the original creator, so do give them a special thanks and do let them know who it was that sent you their way. Your support means a lot, and I cannot stress this enough, so please consider liking, commenting, and even subscribing to the channel. Then lastly, for those who are willing, consider having a look at our Patreon page and keep up to date with our latest narrations and some other opportunities. This was Dr. Torment bidding you adieu, and remember, don't fall asleep ever.